Township Board of Supervisors business meeting of February 18 of 2026. Could you join me to pledge of allegiance? Thank you very much. In attendance, we have myself, Lou Betts, as chair. To my right is Christine Steer, our vice chair. To my left is Rick DeLillo, board member. To my left, our left, is Wendy McKenna for Brand Associates, our legal team. John Everett, CKS Engineering. Dan Domino, our township manager, and Christian Jones, our assistant township manager. Do we have any announcements?
Yes, sir. This meeting is being recorded for future broadcast.
I also have an announcement, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
The board held an executive session on February 2nd, 2026 to discuss threatened litigation concerning alleged violations of the Sunshine Act at the January 5th, 2026 reorganization meeting. To put that into context, I was contacted by a member of the public, a resident of the township, who indicated that they believed that there were two specific violations of the Sunshine Law that occurred. Those two specific violations were the action item that occurred at the reorganization meeting with regard to the PSATS voting delegate, and the second item was the authorization to seek requests for proposals for township solicitor. As a result of that, I reviewed the case law and the board held an executive session, and it was my recommendation that those two items be placed on the agenda this evening for action, and they are in fact placed on the agenda this evening.
Thank you very much. Under one of our informational items is we're swearing in a newer fire police, Vlado Arnov. Please come forward.
Stay here, Lou. Stay here. You do it from here. So we'll have Josh. So, Josh, do you want to come maybe say a quick word first, and then that way we just get everything on the recording?
Hi, I'm Josh Anderson. I'm the current fire and police captain with Worcester Volunteer Fire Department. Thank you to the Board of Supervisors and Township Manager and others for having us come tonight. The fire police, for those who aren't aware, the main functions that we serve are for scene control and crowd control during emergency responses. We also assist with special community events for traffic and crowd control. And then the reason we're here tonight is our new members go through, of course, new member training within our department. They also take certain classes through Montgomery County. But in addition to being members of the fire department, in order to be a special fire police officer under Pennsylvania law, we technically operate under the state police, and that requires swearing in under an oath. And so that's what brings us here tonight.
Thank you.
Sounds perfect. So you could read it from here so that it gets on the recording.
Okay, so
He'll sit down here.
That's fine. You can sit down and we'll just repeat.
So we get it on the recording, that's all.
We get on the recording. So, Mr. Arnov, please repeat after me. I, Vlad Arnov, of 1716 Valley Forge Road, Norristown, PA, 19403.
I, Vladek Aranov, of 1716 Valley Forge Road, Norristown, Pennsylvania, 19403.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and the ordinances of Worcester Township, Montgomery County,
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and the ordinances of the Worcester Township, Montgomery County,
that I will discharge the duties of a special fire police officer in and for Worcester Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of the Special Fire Police Officer in and for Worcester Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, with fidelity.
Thank you very much.
My honor.
I think the board should get together and maybe put a picture together and shake hands for our website. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Josh. Thank you. Moving on to our next topic is public comment. There's a 5-minute.
Hold on. We got another informational presentation first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Primrose is
I'm
coming.
sorry, Primrose Schools. I'm sorry. Skip that line. I'm sorry. Primrose is going to make a presentation.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Julie Von Spreckleson from the law firm of Eastburn and Gray on behalf of Primrose Schools. First, want to thank the board for allowing us this opportunity to discuss what we understand are some concerns that the board may have to the zoning application that was submitted by Primrose School to the zoning hearing board, and which is scheduled for a hearing next month. With regard to that, as a way of a little bit of background on this application, about a year ago, as you may recall.
Could you, I'm sorry, if you could just tell us who you are?
Oh, I thought I said Julie Von Spreckleson.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh,
It's hard in here. It really is.
oh, I'm sorry about that. Julie Von Spreckleson from the law firm of Eastburn and Gray. It's got an echo, so it's a little bit difficult to talk and listen at the same time, so sorry about that. So again, here on behalf of Primrose School, and it was our understanding that the board might have had some concerns with the application, zoning application that Primrose had submitted to the zoning hearing board, and that's going to be held next week. And that involves the development of 1501 North Wales Road with a child care center. And to provide this in some context and some background, about a year ago, Primrose approached township staff and had a meeting with the township staff about this proposed development, and also discussed a potential text amendment to the zoning ordinance to allow a child care center use in the C commercial district. At the time, the zoning ordinance only allowed child care centers in the SC shopping center district, and there's only 3 properties in the township zone shopping center. 2 are owned by the township. 1 is fully developed. So in order to have a child care use within this township, they thought that it would be a good idea to allow it in the C commercial district because all the uses are pretty similar in shopping center and C commercial. So we had the township staff meeting, very helpful. We submitted at the time at the staff meeting a plan that looked just like this. It was not as pretty as this one is, but it was a basic sketch plan. It showed the building size, it showed all the proposed improvements, and we said this is what we're going to move forward with if this text amendment is allowed to proceed forward. So after that meeting, we then submitted a formal application to the township to permit this text amendment. And with that application, we proposed, again, this site plan exactly showing the building size, the layout, and the proposed improvements. It went back and forth with the board for a little bit in terms of it was reviewed by the planning commission and then the board, and there was discussion about adding some provisions. And I believe you added some provisions regarding definitions. So it was great. It was very helpful. The text amendment was adopted, and then Primrose wanted to move forward with this proposed development. So they filed their zoning application, and the only zoning relief that's being requested is with regard to an increase in gross building floor area, and then also some signage relief. And the reason that when they were contemplating the text amendment, they didn't ask for an increase in the gross building floor area is because the C commercial district has a minimum lot size of 25,000 square feet. That's a little over an acre. That's all, half an acre, excuse me, little over half an acre. So to increase the gross building floor area across the board in the C district wouldn't make sense because they're smaller properties. But for larger properties, this one's 4.5 acres, it may make sense to increase the building floor area. And the ordinance already contemplates it because there is a section in the gross building floor area that says that there can be an increase in building floor area if there's a proportionate or equivalent increase in the yard areas as determined by the zoning hearing board. And that's all we were asking for, is to go to the zoning hearing board and let the zoning hearing board decide if we're providing that equivalent increase in yard areas. And we clearly are. As you can see from this plan, again, minimum lot area, 25,000 square feet. This lot, 4.5 acres. The rear yard setback requirement is 50 feet. This plan proposes 186.37 feet, and that does not even include this area here, which is zoned agriculture and is going to remain as is without being developed. The side yard setback requirement in the C district is 20 feet. This plan proposes 83.48 feet. And then the setback from the roadway, from North Wales Road, that's a 45-foot setback. What's being proposed is 203.43 feet. So you can see they're providing way more yard area than what is required by the ordinance. It certainly is an equivalent or proportionate increase in terms of building square footage that is being requested and then the yards that are being provided. It's over 4 times more in most cases. So it makes sense. And this child care center use that's being provided here in Pennsylvania, there are strict requirements in terms of size of how much area you have to provide per child. So there's requirements that have to be met in Pennsylvania. So that drives the need for the larger building. In addition to, this is very similar to any other child care center that you see. So all of their competitors, Goddard, they all have similar sizes. So this is nothing out of the ordinary. And again, the reason they're asking for this increase in size is because of the large lot area and because they can provide such large yards. So that's the issue with the gross building floor area variance. With regard to signage, I don't have it up here, but your ordinance only, well, it allows 25 square feet, I believe it is, of signage and for a freestanding sign, but you have to include the backing and the bracing. So if you want to make a beautiful, nice monument sign, you have to include that square footage. So when you look at, and we'll bring it up here, when you look at our freestanding sign, the actual logo is only 19 square feet. That's it. It's the bracing and the backing that require it to be 54 square feet. So the whole thing is 54 square feet, but just the logo is 19. So it's actually under what is permitted. Additionally, you're allowed to have 2 freestanding signs on this property because it has 2 frontages. They're only going to provide 1 freestanding sign. So they could have 2 signs, 50 square feet total. They're asking for 1 sign of 54 square feet. With regard to the building signage, they wanted to have a building on each sign on each frontage. It meets the square footage requirements of the ordinance. They just want to be able to have people view as they're driving by, recognize what the business is, and have safe stopping and turning into the site. They want to have that ability for motorists. So that's why they're asking for a sign on each frontage. And then lastly, they were asking for internal illumination rather than external illumination. And the reason for that request is largely due to external illumination sometimes causes glare, it causes uplighting. When it's soft white light that's internally illuminated, it's a much nicer sign, it's a softer light, and it doesn't cause that glare. So that's what's being requested before the zoning hearing board, and we're happy to address any concerns you have. We understood that you may have had some concerns, so we wanted to be able to have this chance to meet with you.
Our sign ordinance is under review and to modernize for the internally illuminated, so that's in the works. Could you remove that one sign thing? Is that part that you have highlighted in green, is that all the commercial part?
So this is the commercial zone here,
Okay,
and then back here is the ag, and that's all staying as is and will not be developed.
and that brown area is the building, obviously.
Brown is the building, then there's some play areas.
I see.
There's nice landscaping, lots of landscaping in the front, the sides, the parking lot area, and then the parking areas through there.
So the agricultural part will just stay green.
Yes.
Gotcha. Either board member have any questions for Julie, is it?
Yes.
Either, any questions or?
I have a question.
Sure.
You said that the Pennsylvania has strict requirements for how big a daycare or a facility like this needs to be. Can you give more information on that?
I'm going to have to ask Jason to do that. Jason, would you introduce yourself?
Oh, that's pretty loud, sorry.
State your name and sign in for the record.
So in Pennsylvania, the requirement per child is 40 square feet of classroom requirements. It's about 14% higher than New Jersey, Ohio, which only requires 35. So to achieve the the available room, that's the size of the building, along with, office space, warming kitchens, all that stuff that, Primrose kind of offers so that's really kind of why that it needs to be like that.
And how many kids are contemplated?
I believe we've got 204.
Okay. And that doesn't account for the spaces for the building versus the play yard area.
Correct. There's an additional requirement for that.
Right, yeah, okay. That was my question.
So I don't have any questions. I mean, I guess the only thing that I would say is our zoning board is an independent body. We had our meeting last month. It was a public meeting. It's been on the video. If you saw the video, we expressed some concerns that we had, and certainly we appreciate the explanation. Those concerns were the board's concerns. I think it's, ultimately we don't cross over into a quasi-judicial role of our zoning board in terms of that. I mean, it's a careful, I'll make sure my solicitor just keeps me within the lines in terms of that. I mean, we respect the information that you're presenting in terms of that, and there's not a lot we can sort of offer.
Completely
So
understand.
you understand that.
Yeah, we obviously saw the video and just wanted to make sure that any of the concerns that you did have, we were able to either address or just kind of give you a brief presentation like we did today, try to just alleviate any concerns.
I actually have one other question. All of the plans that have been submitted, whether it be to the township or to the planning board, the building has always been this particular size?
That's correct, yeah. We haven't changed.
So it's never changed? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I have no more questions.
If you could just, Jason, do me a favor, if you could just say who you are fully and jot your name on the little sheet if you don't mind.
You got it, no problem. Jason Lang, I'm the development project manager for Primrose Schools.
The only other thing I wanted to add is that this property, because it is so large, it was previously approved for 25,000 square feet of building floor area. It was about, I don't know, number of years ago, but it was approved for 25,000 square feet. It had 3 buildings. It had office, retail, and office, retail, and restaurant, I believe it was. So this is 15,000 square feet, a lot less. Nothing's being developed back here. And I thought that maybe coming in, I know you said you had some concerns with the size of this building, and I thought maybe we could allay some of those concerns by showing you the large setbacks that we have, which are more than proportionate to what's the increase of
Right.
size of the building.
Usually we have zoning, and the zoning has a defined number, and anytime something exceeds that number, then we have to weigh the whole thing. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and you make your case in front of the zoning board well, I'm sure, but ultimately, there's a reason we have 6,500 square feet across the entire, commercial districts, and so we have to, that has to sort of factor into the whole picture. Again, we don't get into the granularity of the setback, like we don't.
No, I absolutely understand that, but it does allow for an increase if you give proportionate increase in yard areas. It specifically says that in your ordinance. So I thought if we were showing you that, that maybe it would allay some of your concerns. That's all.
So I think that's something that will be your case that you'll present to the zoning.
Sure. Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In a minute. Up next is public comment. Everybody has a 5-minute public comment. Anybody? Bill?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill McGrain, Stump Hall Road. Apologize to my neighbors, not printing enough copies of what I'm presenting to share with everyone. I'm representing the Farmers Union Company, and I have given you what I think is a logical progression to follow. We are asking if you could consider changing the name of the space behind the building here from what it is now to Farmers Union Showgrounds. The reasons, as you'll find in your packet, are the property was not donated to the township. It was purchased by the township, actually at an extreme premium due to some zoning manipulation prior to the purchase. So for it to, the seller benefited greatly from that. The township used county Greenfields, Green Towns space monies as part of their purchase price to commit to keeping that space available within the township for township residents and township activities. The final pages are just an example for you to follow along that that property, although it has a name, has had many names in the last 100 years, mostly related to who the owner of the property was. In 1961, it was called the Fairview Village Assembly Grounds. In 1973, it was called Titlow Field because the Titlow sisters, who lived right here, owned the property. And that carried through until the 80s when John Heiser bought the property, and it was named Heiser Field for many years. Then the township bought the property in 2008, and for some reason, we continue to honor the person who made out very well in selling this property. So we're asking if you would consider naming the property for the activity that's gone on there for over 100 years. That is my public comment.
Bill, before you go, what's your recommendation that it be changed to? Farmers Union Hall? Is that your recommendation, or?
I think I would like to see it reflect the activity that's been most prominent there for 100 years and not a person who was a prominent property owner in the township, but was paid handsomely for the property.
As the president of the Farmers Union Company, Farmers Union Horse Company, do you have any sketch or anything you're going to submit to?
We have sketches for this property and for the Griffith Road property, and we could share at any time. And
I'd appreciate to do that. And Wendy, the process of doing that, is that a legal adventure?
What I'm understanding is that the inquiry tonight is whether or not the board would consider renaming
Yes.
the property. So um, I would need to take a look at, it's possible that when the property was purchased, there may have been some type of agreement with the seller with respect to the naming of the property. I'm not aware if that is the case or isn't the case. So that's something I can certainly look into if you'd like me to do that, or if you'd like to direct the manager to do that.
Dan, you could follow up on that and work with Bill and,
Sure, absolutely.
your,
There's no readily available filed document to that, but this was a Worcester deal back then, so
gotcha. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none. To move on to the official actions, the consent agenda. Is there a board member to make a motion on the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the following items: the January 21st business meeting minutes, the treasurer's report and other monthly reports, and the monthly bill payments in the amount of, excuse me, I didn't grab this.
Either.
I got it here. $623,476.07. Is that the correct number, Dan?
70, you said?
Yes, correct.
707.
07.
623,476.07.
Is there a second on that?
I second that.
Any public comment on the consent agenda? Mr. Andor.
Bob Andrew, Worcester. Two quick comments. The meeting minutes are not representative of what took place during the meeting. There was missing information there, so people who did speak are not listed as speaking. And those who did speak, where they spoke and what they spoke about has been arbitrarily moved to other components of the meeting minutes, and that's the only official record of what took place. We can't go back and look at the video and kind of comment on that. So if the only official record is the meeting minutes, then my opinion is the meeting minutes should be modified to reflect what actually took place, who spoke, when they spoke, and what they spoke about, as opposed to a resident speaking at the end of the meeting and referring to something else that took place in the middle of the meeting. The comment should be in the middle, as to not in the middle when it's relevant, but should reflect when that person spoke and what they spoke about, even if they were speaking about something that was covered earlier. But more importantly, others who did speak that are not included in the meeting minutes should be reflected properly. And then payment of the bills, I will once again respectfully request that you change the way you present the information to us on payment of the bills, and you include the account, the expenditure accounts that are associated with those particular bills. We still have no way of reviewing or understanding where those costs are being applied. So I have no comment about the bills that you're paying because I have no way of understanding what activities they're associated with. I've asked for this many, many times. I'd like you to consider changing the way you present that information to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andor. Does either board member want to table the minutes for corrections? Does it seem important? Christine?
Bob, so you're saying that the public comment isn't accurate? Is that what that's?
We've done in the past, we could table it and have them corrected and then reappoint next month. So it's up to majority.
Dan, do you have?
I would say I want to be very clear that our minutes are significantly more detailed than required by law. And when I say significantly, I mean very significantly more detailed. My personal opinion is that it would not be productive to table these for us to go back and re-review an entire meeting, make sure we know exactly who said what and when from a public comment standpoint. But I will do what the board directs, of course.
I guess what I would add in is that I think it's fine to take the comments and make sure that as we go forward, we're doing our best to reflect. Oh, the meeting minutes have been, and other residents can speak to this, for a long time. There's always a bit of concern from time to time of what is or isn't included in those. So I think the effort is to say, we certainly want to be reflective as best we possibly can. I don't think it's necessary to specifically table them, but again, I'll certainly respect the majority of the board on that. But I certainly think going forward, we can certainly do our best to make sure that we're getting the names, we're getting, the pieces and components as accurately as we can.
Christine?
Yeah, I agree with Rick's assessment. Are you?
So it's been motion and seconded. All in favor of passing the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Dale passes. Motion to certify to appoint a PSAT voting delegate. Do we make a motion?
Maybe Dan, if you could just give us the 30 seconds of what this is, and then we can have a motion on it.
Absolutely. The PSAT stands for Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors. They have an annual meeting that's held in April every year, where PSATs as an organization suggests actions they may take to support rules, laws. There's 100 different things they do, but ultimately, every township then that is a member of PSATs has the ability to send a voting delegate to that conference and vote in those at that conference. There is no other actions that voting delegate takes throughout the year. There's no other additional powers or things that they need to do at any time other than that vote at that conference.
Okay. So is there a motion to appoint a PSAT voting delegate? Let's go with that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to appoint or nominate Lou Betts. What's the right, I'm going to say this correctly. So I would make a motion to appoint Lou Betts as the PSAT's voting delegate.
I second that.
There's a motion to second. Any public comment on the voting PSAT? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 3 is our motion to authorize the township manager to seek requests for proposals for township solicitor. Is there a motion?
I do not wish to make a motion on that.
I motion that the township authorize an RFP to seek a township solicitor.
It's been, I'm going to second the motion. Any public comment on this? Please.
As a resident, I've been to quite a few meetings. I'm perfectly happy with the present solicitor. I've been to quite a few meetings. I've seen her, what she does. As a taxpayer, I'm very happy with the level of service. But I know how things work. We know how they work. I know what's going on. You know what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on here. So that I would just like to say, last meeting, it was mentioned of Sean Kilkenny, who I guess is a solicitor. Potentially, he's going to get an RFP. Now, and there may be other firms. The only point I would like to make, since the name was mentioned at the last meeting, if you appoint Sean Kilkenny to be the solicitor, I don't believe Sean Kilkenny will be sitting in that chair on Wednesday nights. He comes from a law firm. I guess there's 10 lawyers. I don't know who in that law firm would be the solicitor who would serve sitting in that chair. So what I would ask, if you're doing RFPs and you're taking RFPs from various law firms of different sizes, not only do you need to find out who the law firm is, but who's going to be sitting in that chair from that law firm. So when you go through the RFP process, I would ask you to do that. If you want to compare apples to apples, if you're going to compare a potential new solicitor, I think you know who that person has to be. And you would have to compare that person to Wendy, who's sitting in the chair there. I think that's the only way you would do a fair and valid comparison. The other thing I would like to ask, if you pick a solicitor and you know who they are, I think you need to ask how many clients do they have? Will we be one of 15 clients? Will we be one of 1 clients? I mean, you could have the best municipal law attorney in Montgomery County, but if you pick up the phone and call them, they don't answer, they're not doing you a whole lot of good. So I would ask you, when you evaluate the proposals, one of the questions to ask who the person will be specifically, and hopefully it's not a rotating basis, that there's somebody different every meeting, who that person will be, and how many clients, municipal clients they have. You know, will we be one of 1 or one of 20? So I think that's the only, another criteria I think you need to have to compare if you're going to get improvement or if it's going to be a step backwards. Will we get the sole attention of this person, or will we be one of 15? So I would just ask you to do that when you do this RFP, to give it an honest, thorough evaluation. I assume when you make the appointment, I would like to hear you did this, you compared it, and you did a thorough analysis of the current solicitor versus someone who you might choose to appoint in their place. The other thing I'd like to say is 1616 Whitehall Road. The current solicitor has been handling this for 3 years. The current solicitor.
Say that for public comment, that's not what's on deck right now. We're just doing.
Well, this ties in with 1616. And what I'm going to say is this. The current solicitor has handled that case for 3 years. She's fought with these people. She's been to common pleas court with these people. She put the case together in front of the zoning hearing board, which is a very good case. I sat through 4.5 hours of hearings, and I understand that the case now is back in Commonwealth Court. So I would just like to ask, if you are going to change solicitors, to entertain the notion of retaining the current solicitor to finish that case. I don't know that if they will or will not be the solicitor, but if they're not, would you entertain having her or that law firm continue that? I don't see the point after the 3-year legal battle to appoint a new solicitor who has to jump on board and learn 3 years worth of history on this case. So I think it makes sense. I've seen it done before. If there is a transition, I don't know if they'd be willing to do it. But to see this case to the end, it's a complicated case, been going on forever. It's probably going to still go on forever. So if you were to entertain that notion of allowing a solicitor, if she's not renewed, and I hope she is, that she would handle that case. Because I think a new law firm, they're going to have to sit down and probably bill you $300 an hour. Just sit down and spend 40 hours to go through the case files, just to get up to speed on what's been going on in this case. And when the current solicitor would have that knowledge. So I would just ask you to consider that.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay.
I would just like to add, if I could, real quickly, as you know, you can, Tim, I specifically didn't make the motion, and I didn't second the motion, but I respect the board's majority on those sorts of items. I certainly, it's no reflection on another solicitor. I've been very happy and content with our solicitor for multiple years through multiple instances, to your point, which is why I chose not to make the motion or second it. Appreciate it.
I understand. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Edmore, Valley Green. Um, I may be in a minority here, but hey, I don't know what's going on. Okay, I don't know why, if there's some ulterior motive behind the RFP has been, I think, inferred. I personally haven't, through my professional career, have solicited many RFPs, oftentimes to review a long-term vendor or associate. So I think RFPs are a good thing. I think it keeps the board on their game. I think it keeps the providers on their game. So I, for one, am for you stay the same. That's great. I think doing an RFP is not a bad idea. And I would make one further comment. All due respect, Wendy. Wendy represents a firm that has represented Worcester multiple years through the firm's founder, Bob Bm. Bob unfortunately passed away. Wendy has filled in very ably, but you hire the firm, not the individual. Thank you.
Jim Malik, Worcester. Very well done, Tim. Lou, you kind of remind me of the school board.
Say again?
You remind me of people at the school board. He's making his point. It's on point, and you're saying like what? It's not part of what the motion is. She's the solicitor. He's making the case to keep her. You're putting it out for RFPs. Remind me of the school board. But Tim did mention Sean Kilkenny. Oh, he's sitting in the back of the room right there. So Tim, maybe you can go talk to Sean Kilkenny sitting back there at the back of the room. As far as Wendy goes, she saved you. You know why? Because I took her word that you guys were going to do what you're going to do. Because I had to file the Sunshine Law complaint before this meeting. I had no assurance other than her word. I don't trust anybody, but I trusted her because she's got integrity, right? And which gets me to my next point. You got somebody like this who's qualified and she's got integrity. How did this all go down? Why don't we start with October 13th? What happened October 13th of 25? You told us all at the last meeting. What happened?
I had a communication with our township manager. That's what was referred to.
Yeah, about what?
RFPs for all professional services.
Right. And what happened?
Nothing.
Nothing? Rick DiLello said two of the supervisors were against putting it out for RFPs. Remember that? Something did happen, right?
Nothing happened.
Yeah, it did. You wanted the RFPs to go out. Two said no, and they didn't go out, right? Is that how it went down? Or is this the kind of transparency we're going to get? Is you up there not being totally honest?
You know as much as I do. We said nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Tell us the whole story. Are you having communications in private, behind closed doors, about things that are going to be on the agenda?
No.
It's not a hard one.
Between me and the township manager. That was it.
You can't use the township manager to get around the Sunshine Law, right? Otherwise, you do all your business through the township manager, right? Behind closed doors. So you would say one thing to him, he'd go to him, then he'd go to her, and you come up with a consensus, and that's how it would go. That's not the way it's going to go. But that seems to be what was going on. Am I right?
I talked to the township manager.
I get it. What did you talk about?
I made a request and it got nowhere.
Right? And it got nowhere because two other people didn't want to do it. and it was presented that you knew two other people didn't want to do it, right? Did you know two other supervisors didn't want to do it?
I would assume that would be a good statement.
Well, no. Is it true?
Dan, I don't even know if he responded. I don't remember.
Okay. So this is how it's going to go. Mr. Chairman,
I had a communication with the township manager.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm listening to you.
I'll settle it real easy. I'm going to do a right to know request. Okay? I'm going to find out what you got, what you said, and then we'll go from there. How's that? Sure. Then I'll come back here and tell you what you should be telling me now. Here's a question for you. Do you destroy your emails or your text messages or your social media posts?
No.
What guidance do you have on that from the township? What guidance do you have? Guidance, rules. What's the rule on destruction or retention of emails, texts, social media posts?
Wendy, could you clarify something?
Well, no, I wanted.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in here because I think at this point we're more in the role of what seems almost to be cross-examination of our board rather than actual public comment.
See, she saved you again.
I think at this point, if Dr. Malik has any more comments, that would be appropriate, but I'm going to suggest that the cross-examination is not appropriate and that it's not required to be responded to.
See, there you go. Case made.
Any more public comment? We have a motion to certify Qualified Act 172 fire volunteers for earned income tax.
Hold on.
We have to vote on.
I'm sorry.
We gotta go back to the vote.
You got me.
We're all good.
All right, so there's been a motion and a second. All in favor of RFP request?
So you two gotta say, you need to say,
Township solicitor, yes.
you two need to say yes, and then I say opposed.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion passes
Passes
2-1.
2-1. Now moving on to a motion to certify Qualified Act 172 fire volunteers for earned income tax credit. And can you?
Yeah, I can give a quick breakdown on that. So Act 172 is a state law that allows townships to provide a earned income tax credit for volunteer firefighters who meet, in our case, the case of our code, a minimum of 23% annual participation rate. The chief has provided a list of members of the Worcester Volunteer Fire Department who are eligible for that, and my recommendation is for those names to be certified.
Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to make a motion to authorize the township manager to seek, excuse, I'm doing the right thing. Motion to certify Qualified Act 172 fire volunteers for the earned income tax credit.
Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
Any comment, public comment on this act? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Other business, any other business for the board? Either board member?
No, sir.
Christine? No other business? More public comment? Any additional public comment? Bob?
Bob Andor in Worcester. So earlier, I specifically requested that the board consider on payment of the bills that you list what the account is that applies to the bills. And that way the public can do some additional homework. We can see the bills that are being paid and then apply them to whatever appropriate account they are in the budget. Each month, we're provided with this budget analysis. I realize it's just a document that's prepared by staff, but it's the only document that we have that we can use to understand the finances of.
So Bob, what are you asking for them to have another line item or account number, you said?
So y- you have payment of the bills and you list a series of 100 vendors that you're paying.
Yes.
That specifically has the vendor, has a date. It's hard to say if that's the date that it was paid or if that's the date of the invoice, and it has an amount. But there's an account that's associated with that. So this document lists all of the accounts that are in your budget. And what I'm asking for is that when you give us the list of bills that you're paying, that you include the account so we can, just as an example, it's impossible for us to kind of say vendor A gets assigned to road opening permits. But if you're paying vendor A and it has the account associated with road opening permits, we can put two and two together. Last month, you paid Heidelberg, it's easy to assume this because you paid Heidelberg $500,000 and they were our road contractor. So one could assume that it was for the road program. That's a separate account. But we don't have that. It's easy for me to kind of jump to that conclusion because the account is that big. However, why I'd like to know that specifically is the amount that you paid them, 508,000 and change. When I go to this account, it lists them as $466,000. So that bill might be split between different accounts. I have no way of knowing that.
So
The quick answer on that is yes, it's split between multiple accounts.
you can add an account number so he can identify where the money goes?
Not easily. We've looked at some reports. We've looked at a number of different reports. There is no way to generate that report efficiently without disseminating confidential financial information that should not be public facing.
Can I, no, I don't want to step out of bounds here. Can I just question the manager on that?
Typically, no, but you can sort of, Lou can direct that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Ask me the question, I'll see if he can.
So again, not understanding completely how the accounting takes place, but a bill comes in and first thing you do is you stamp it with the date. Here's the date we received it, and then you apply the accounts that are.
So the name of the company that the vendor.
Well, right, you have that, and when you enter it into the system, you say it's going to be applied to this account or that account. You have to do that internally.
Yeah.
So all I'm asking is, when you print that report, is just tell us what account it's being assigned to. It's not proprietary information. I'll file the right to know if I have to. The information exists. We just want to know where it's being applied. The reason I've also asked for it is when you look at this document, here's this month's. These follow through. So we're in February, but this document is for January because February is not complete. So this document is for January 1 to January 31. There are 3 line items in here that have negative values associated with them for the first of the year. It's on an expenditure account. I would love to know when I look at payment of the bills, there's no negative amounts there. How do you get to a negative amount in the first month of the year? Now, there's a couple logical reasons why that might be. You got a credit from somebody. Hard to understand how you got a credit that exceeds whatever you purchased in the first month. If it's in the second month, you may have bought something in the first month and got a credit. You may have applied an incorrect account code to it, and therefore you're making a correction. You could have just made a coding error. It could be some other thing. You could have an adjusting journal entry, but that doesn't seem to make sense because that would be at the end of the year. There may be a logical reason. I just don't know what any of those are. So I'm wondering why we can't have those account numbers. Other townships do provide them, and I don't think it's any excess amount of energy again, I don't know how you specifically run your program, but when you enter these bills, the date, the time, the person, the account, and the amount, those are all entered. When you go to print the report, I'm just asking you to print the extra column that tells us what the account is, or accounts that are associated with it. If you get a bill for $10,000 and it's applied equally between two different accounts, when you put it in the system, that's not something you come up with later on. 5,000 account A, 5,000 account B.
So Dan, there's no way to answer his question as far as,
It could be provided if we did it manually in a way that we could do it. I will say it would be highly irregular. I've never seen it done. And we do have a professional auditing firm come in to make sure that things are placed where they should be placed every year as required by the DCED. So I could hypothetically do it. I don't know if it's a productive activity.
if you had specific questions, you can always submit it to Dan, the board, and hopefully he'll answer whatever question you need.
I'll send you guys a specific list of questions that I have every month. Just for the record, this reflects your budget. This document is your budget document in a different form. Once you set this in stone, it should not be changed. Last year, this is December's bill, there's 40 separate account codes. 7 out of the 40, which represents 18%, somebody, maybe it's the finance director, arbitrarily just chose to reallocate funds in the budget. I'm just reading the document that's given to me.
Respectfully, the implication that a finance director is just arbitrarily changing numbers is not, I believe, appropriate.
With all due respect, I'm not saying arbitrarily.
You specifically said arbitrarily.
Okay. I will submit the request, and you can tell me why she chose to change 7 different account codes. Same thing, I'll submit a specific request to understand why some of these numbers are what they are. They don't make sense. And that's the only document that we have to understand what's happening financially in this township. And for the record, the budget for this year, she's missed 2 activities. So the totals don't even equal. Somebody, should look at why we can't even copy the budget into the new document.
Submit your request, Bob. I'll see what. Any other public comment? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.